Hey everybody, welcome back to Tech and Beer. We're live again today from the Celtic Corner in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. It's a little cold today, but that's why we're inside and having a nice winter warmer here. And my guest today is Sammy Davis. We're going to be talking about disruption, and Sammy is famed in the local region and across Canada for disrupting the marketing industry, and we're going to be talking to him about how he did that and how disruption plays out across other industries.
Cool.
Thanks for coming, Sammy.
No, thanks for having me.
Cheers. Welcome to Tech and Beer.
Thank you.
So what do we choose to drink here today? Because this, we wanted something dark, right?
Yeah, it's cold outside. It's stout time, right?
Stout time, exactly, yeah. So this is the Moosehead London Stout, which is...
It's all right.
It's not bad.
It's
a little different.
Yeah, it's not what you expected.
It's not a Murphy's or a Guinness.
No, it's disruptive.
Yeah, there you go. I like it. So tell me about yourself.
Oh,
What's
what to know? Well, I mean, my background's literally all over the place. But I guess the thing that we're here to talk about is, marketing, advertising, really. Did a number of years on client side working in not-for-profits, did a number of years consulting, did a number of years managing different creative firms and ad agencies, talking about things like, or working with things like web firms even. Okay. So I'm all over the place. I have friends that are close and non-close friends who like to talk about the mystery, because every once in a while I'll throw out a story, they're like, what? Where did that come from? I'm an eclectic connoisseur of, I guess, human culture. I love just kind of observing and seeing what we're doing. And like I said before, when we were off camera, I've I like to think of them as informed opinions, but it's not always the popular one. So
right.
Yeah.
Well, I think having an opinion is sometimes the most important thing, right? It's I don't know about you, but lots of times today I find people tend to hesitate about even, do I want an opinion on this? Do I want to kind of go with whatever the group is going with?
Well, it's funny. It's funny you say that, because I think in our first conversation, even about disruption, I was like, it's a club now.
Right.
Right? Which flies in the face of what it was supposed to be in the first place.
Yeah.
And there's all these like-minded people that have found each other, and essentially my business is based on that.
Yeah.
Trying to use that as a powerful mechanism to kind of generate eyes and ears into our business. But it is interesting that we have a lot of people right now that, it depends on what field you're in, I find, but they will not give you their actual opinion. Right. Their opinion will change depending on what room they're in. And
I actually hate the word disruption as well. Like I think
too.
I'm a marketing guy as well, and it is just a marketing word, really.
Well,
in some sense.
It falls in the buzzword category, right?
Yeah.
I had a great strategy manager years ago who we used to. I loved her energy. She kept coming to me and just saying, can we, instead of having a swear jar in the agency, let's have a swear jar for buzzwords. So if anybody's caught saying synergy, toss a dollar in. Right?
Sense of urgency.
And even in that time, it was things. There was all these rampant social media buzzwords that were just kicking around, right? Let's get our community base up and running. What was the big one? There was, anyways, all of them have all run into that. Yeah. So, innovation was the other one. It was the biggest curse word you could bring up. Yeah. Because just like disruption, and that's my negative opinion of disruption is because it's become so clubby, and because it's become this little word that everybody flocks around. We've lost all sense of what it actually entails, and disruption is, for the disruptor, it's a happy place. For the one who's being disrupted, it's not. And I think it gets lost a lot in this idea of disruption of, people are always waving the flag, oh, I'm a proud disruptor, but that means there's casualties.
Yeah.
And that's the forgotten part.
That's true. Yeah.
You know,
And you see that in lots of industries. You can see that in, technology is a big one, right? How companies
Totally.
come along and come up with something new or a little better that changes. Apple's a big one. They did that famously with the iPhone, and
famously from the iPhone. I question what they've done recently.
that's a different question. Yeah, I mean that's
I think they've lost a bit of their energy that way.
their mojo. Yeah, they
But you find one of the things that comes with disruption, and again, it's something forgotten right now, is true disruption is archaic and it's whole. It's not just around the technology or the thing I've built to send out to the world. It is an entire. It's not just a philosophy. It's action set. The true disruptors I've run into are the ones that don't. You look up. They have to be told that's what they're doing.
right.
Ourselves included. Like when I came out with the well, it was a disruption.
Yeah.
And I was pretty conscious of that, but I didn't think of it in those terms. I
Yeah.
thought of it as I need to put a better thing in there.
Right.
And what I think gets lost a lot in disruption talk right now is the experience side.
Yeah.
Just like innovation, just like synergy. I mean, 5 years ago, every startup was innovative. And now there's the accusation of innovation theater, right? You're not really innovative, you learn the words.
Yeah.
You're up there recycling something old and telling us it's new, but you've hidden behind innovation and you've hidden behind disruption, but you don't truly know what it is, and it's because the experience is missing.
Yeah.
I find a lot of the tech firms, a lot of the startups, they're doing amazing things, but then there's a whole other group that are just kind of treading water, waiting for their time. But I think the reason that they're waiting as long as they are is because they don't have a true sense of the thing they're trying to innovate. How could you if this was your first job out of school?
Right. And it's interesting because I had a startup when I was 17 back before startups were popular to have, right? And back then it was there was kind of a core mentality, certainly in the UK, that you didn't have to come up with the next new thing to start a business. You just had to figure out something, maybe look at an industry, find a space, do it better, find a market,
advance it,
and advance it a little bit.
Yeah.
Now it's like people almost don't want to start businesses that are in the same thing that everybody else is doing, or it's now you want to be a disruptor. It's like something you aspire to be. And I don't know if that's it's a good thing in some sense, but it's a difference in the mindset has shifted.
It's an acceptance. It's a pure acceptance, right? I mean, I think that's a motivator for sure. I mean, you look at the makeups of things like accelerators and giant startup groups. I mean, you've created a peer group that are all trying to bounce each other off. There's real serious benefits to that. It's awesome. There's some negatives in there too that you just got to be aware of, that you're not creating such an echo chamber around your own awesome innovations. I mean, I used to throw at people all the time, we're a series of innovators innovating innovations. It's just
say that fast 3 times after a couple of beers.
I'm an innovator innovating things, for the sake of innovation.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like tech for tech's sake. We're going through all of that stuff again. It keeps getting repeated because these things are becoming echo chambers a little bit. Yeah. I'm not going to throw that as an accusation out there, but there is a kind of a problem in taking. It's always been my worry on where we're going in terms of the startup stuff, because it's being taught in universities. And I mean, you had a business when you were 17, so did I. I mean, we weren't taught that. We just kind of went and did stuff.
Yeah.
And it was more the opposite. It was, tell me I can't.
Right.
Right? I dare you. I dare you to tell me I can't, because this is going to be hilarious, because I'm probably going to fail real hard.
Yeah.
But whatever. I'm going to do it in spite of you.
Exactly.
The problem I see right now is it's too soft.
Yeah.
So you've got people coming out of university that have taken all these entrepreneurial courses in university, which in itself doesn't actually distinguish the entrepreneurial character. Because I mean, as you know, being an entrepreneurial character, I still believe, and maybe I'm turning into the old guy, and I've got the old guy mentality, but I still believe part of being an entrepreneur is being able to take a punch and then, please sir, may I have another? And then constantly getting up. And a lot of that gets missed when you've never been exposed to anything hard.
Yeah.
Anything hard other than being in meetings, right? So you've gone from a university where you're surrounded by peers into coming up with a cool invention, and then you're thrown into an accelerator surrounded by more peers. You've just spent 8 years with people telling you how awesome you are.
Yeah.
There's some growing ups to do.
Yeah, it's true.
So that's where I start questioning innovation and disruption.
Yeah.
I think, though, disruption always has a note of, and it's not talked about often, but there's always a note of familiar in disruption, or else we can't actually figure it out.
Yeah, there's got to be something to disrupt.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that something's going to be familiar. Right?
And so anybody that just carves it off, nope, changing it all. Those are the ones that you see, we're waiting on them.
Yeah. So how did you disrupt the marketing game?
Same as everybody does, or maybe not. Maybe my experience is my own, and I've made too many assumptions, which is always a dangerous place to be as well. But for me, it was all just a full immersion into the field I was in. I mean, and still am in. Anything marketing, advertising, communications, technology. Bandied it all about. Been in every kind of every situation, every room, everything you can think of in there. I think there's very little I haven't been involved with in it. Yeah. And so that's a dangerous place too. I could have built a business based just on those observations, and you can convince yourself of a lot of things in that. Yeah. I'm a big proponent of doing like smart market research. I talk a lot about, and people that'll hear me out in stop asking people, ask the data. When you ask people, everything comes into play of cultural, bias and what have you. You're just accumulating experiences. But if you ask data, there's a little more truth in it. I mean, I always use the example of if you go to someone and say, how many times a week do you go to the gym? Well, there's a bunch of things running through their head before they answer, like, are you judging me? Yeah. What's going to not be embarrassing to say? Yeah. Shit, I'm spending $40 a month doing that. I should really get more out of that, shouldn't I? Their answer is always going to be 3 or 4. Yeah. Years ago, I worked with a colleague on looking at the data, and it's in Canada the average is 1 day a week. Right. Right. But everyone you talk to will tell you 3. Yeah. So looking at the data, looking at and just understanding, having been on both sides of the coin, where the marketing manager lives, where the VP of marketing lives, and where the agency manager lives, and where the CEO of an agency lives. And just the fact that the need, it's a customer-driven, it's a service-driven place. It's a service-driven place to be. And the requirement of the services, it's not the services themselves, but how the services are actually presented and how they kind of roll out as a process, that is entirely changed on the marketing manager's side. Yeah. And there's been very little recognition other than these giant repackagings of what we've all known to be like an agency model, or something so familiar that now you start questioning any of that disruption. Yeah. So when I came up with the well, it was all this kind of data observation. It was talking directly with customers and taking those punches in the gut. Like, years of working in the agency world, you start to have a customer base of people that love you and hate you. Right. So I went and talked to all of them. Wow. Who hates me? Yeah. I want to find out why you hate me. And I'm glad to take it. Yeah. Because if there's something I can address within a new model to do it, and it became really obvious, the whole thing needed to be thrown out. Yeah. And again, that's the danger zone that I think my industry has always done. There's every day you can pull out PR, like just go on Google and search in, the Google news on how many people are putting out, my new agency model, right? Yeah. And give them 6 months, and it's an agency. It's the agency they just came from. Right. Right. It's the same one again. They just go down this downward spiral. Everything's familiar again. It's easy. This is how I make money. I'd been in it long enough to trying to wreck it, where I was like, where do you really make the money, and is there is there not a recognition? And so we did. We threw the whole damn model out. Wow. The only thing we kept out of it was how a talent, whether they're an agency talent or a freelancer, manages themselves in terms of timekeeping or how they like to budget that out. And even that stuff, we're working with people now to kind of go, this is what customers are looking for. This is where you can make a better business for yourself, and we coach people along in that. Right. So we did. We wanted to resist all temptation, get rid of all temptation to go back down the slippery slope of waking up one day and going 2 years later, oh shit, we're an agency again.
Yeah.
Right? So we threw it all out.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's part of the entrepreneurial thing. I kind of just didn't know any better. I get asked, you know, how'd you get the guts to do it? Well, I was like, it wasn't till it was already going that I stopped and went, oh, that was risky.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't have done that the way I did, but whatever.
Yeah. Well, and that's a little bit of that old school entrepreneurial kind of mentality, right? It's not, hey, I'm going to go through these 10 rounds of trying to raise money, right?
Exactly.
Before I do something, you just went and did it.
Exactly. And to be honest, I mean, so the well has grown from what it was. It was me. I started like April 2015 kind of thing. And, you know, grew out to what I could handle, what I could do.
Yeah.
There's a big thing. There's a very big place for recognizing when it's past what you can do.
Right.
And we, you know, I quickly started to, you know, the whole premise behind the well is my network's better than yours.
Right.
You know, and used my network to go and find an amazing business partner in Glenn Swan. And he was looking at doing some of the same stuff.
Wow.
In terms of the HR and recruitment side. There's an abolishing that has to be done with this model because it's 30 years old, just like the marketing agency. It's 30 years old. It's gone through iterations, but it's still very much the same, and it's exhaustive because it's a take kind of industry. It doesn't do anything back. So Glenn was quite excited, and we got going on that, and we're now at another pier where we've hit that kind of top line budget line, that high revenue line that we've always wanted to, but to get it past where we are, we're going to be bringing in some more. You know, I'm a big fan of realities, and I think that's where disruption can be the most fun, is when the realities are fully understood and it's a solution to the realities. I always tell people too, because I mean my brain always goes to marketing. When you're marketing a disruptive thing, it's really funny to watch the way, the cycles it goes through, because you can almost map it on a calendar. Like the inventor of such things as, you know, in the early days, a phone application, the inventor of such goes out with this, you know, it's almost like a DJ that's like, I love listening to my own records.
Right.
They go out with this, I've come up with this awesome thing. And then you get your friends and family, your early adopters and all of that kind of stuff. But then you hit these walls where it's like, what's going on now? And the ones that I think have been successful have looked in the mirror and gone, it's past what I can do now.
Right. What impact do you think, because when you talk of disruption, there's lots of facets to it. What impact does technology have on it? I mean, technology's trying to disrupt the marketing space right now. There's lots of marketing automation tools and like, but there's also other forms of there's technology enablers that enable people to work in different ways. And that. So what impact do you think is technology, and what impact is people, perhaps?
I think if you'd asked me that question 5 years ago, we'd be talking about a lot of technology for technology's sake, right? Taking things that somebody sees in the world and trying to build tech responses for it. I think we've gotten more mature as a North American culture to understand that, you know, there's a human aspect that still needs to exist. You know, you hear terms thrown around. Giles throws around the term phygital, right? One part physical, one part digital. I love that to describe what you see as successful innovations right now. I mean, 5-10 years ago, it was technology is going to take all the jobs away from us, which is going to be awesome because we're just going to be able to sit around and collect paychecks for pressing buttons.
Someone's going to give us a universal income.
Beep, boop, boop, beep, beep, boop, boop, program, awesome, life is solved, you know. And then I think it became obvious to people along the way of like, we're building tech responses for things that can't be kind of caged in a tech world. So, our industry, for instance, what we're doing right now, there's companies we compete with that are tech only. And by that I mean, you don't talk to a human to say who's the best person to do my project or who's the best person to be my stand-in creative director. You don't get a human that way.
Wow.
You get a list of thousands and thousands of people on a website or on an application, and it's full of things. When it's unwatched tech, there's like people love to punch holes in it. You love to look. I love looking at some of our competitors, and you see, they've adopted these great things like, a rating for this individual, and you start looking at it, and none of it's based on a project they did. It was their friends that filled the rating up, right? So, I think the human watchful eye of humans, I think it's advancing us. I honestly think that the two have come together in really good ways. Like, there's a fantastic company locally. Who does the construction not replacing the person with the stop sign, the slow and the starts and the slow and starts.
I don't know the name, but I know who you mean. Yeah.
And I don't know if we're allowed to talk about other companies here, so I'll just keep that parked. But and they're awesome. I love them to death, and they've done something awesome because the human's not gone out of it. The human just has a different job.
Yeah.
And that I think is smart. That is what's going to get us out of some of these real big problems that are, I think in Canada we're able to kind of feel good about, we're not as harmful as we used to be to things like environment and what have you. With what's going on in the States right now, you're seeing a constant clamoring and saber rattling and a lot of screaming about things like climate change and what have you. You've got people that are going, I've worked in coal mines all my life, I must stay here. I'm not willing to learn something new. And then at what point do we go, when does your willing not count? You're going to have to learn something new because this doesn't work anymore. Right. And I think through the technologies and disruptions we're seeing now, it's, take the coal miner and have them learn basic things on even just, maybe it's manufacturing solar panels, whatever. I know that's really entry level, that's really kind of naive for someone not in that industry to think of, but it's that kind of stuff is now happening.
It's interesting you raise that because that's kind of one of the sectors, like the energy sector is a great example, I think, of one of the sectors where it's such a big part of our economy, not just Canada, North America, the whole of the Western world, really, that I almost feel like it's that old kind of mentality of it, well, we can't change it because it's too big. And yet we need to change it because the negative effects of it are being felt and the way it is as it is today. But it's like, no, we can't change it because you know what I mean. Like it's almost like it's so big that it's the disruptions. Harder to happen.
It's like the banking industry.
I was going to say banking, but
the thing I find interesting about energy and utility and stuff, because we're talking about tech disruption too. Most of the first response to a problem that must be tackled either in the market, in that weird construct humans have put together that doesn't really enter natural life, all starts with tech. But it all runs on energy, right? Without the energy, there is no tech. So
absolutely.
One of my favorite little jokes to throw at people. You hear people talk about it in our world all the time. Of there's two schools of thought, and it'll break into hundreds more afterwards. But on the artificial intelligence world of it's amazing and it's dangerous, right? And I love remarking to the people of it's dangerous with it's only dangerous until they figure out how it doesn't need to be plugged in. As soon as it doesn't need to be plugged in, then it'll be dangerous. Right now it's okay. You can always turn the power off, right?
I like that.
If there's a blackout, you can shut it down. But as soon as it doesn't need to be plugged in anymore, now you can worry.
That's true.
But that's the thing. Like all of it needs to be plugged in. Everything, the cameras, everything needs to be plugged in. So I really think that there's as we advance as culture, as we advance politically, as we advance in this disruptive kind of response to our everyday, then I think you're going to see a more symbiotic thing happening. I hope you'll see a more symbiotic thing happening with, something like energy utilities thinking broader than just simply we produce power and you consume it, and going, okay, all this is being built as our new economy and it's based on us. And I know that's a powerful, hungry place to be, that there's got to be something that goes on there that's going to be different than what we're looking at now.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's such an interesting path to kind of go down when you're kind of thinking, and because it's so pervasive that again, like you say, like no energy, we don't have anything. We're back to
I remember. You probably remember. I remember when there would be a blackout and it was no big deal.
Yeah, we didn't have those in England very often.
Well,
I think with denser population when I was younger. But
if the power went out for the afternoon, who cares? You wread a book, whatever.
No, it's true.
Yeah, it didn't matter. Yeah. Now you see power going out, and it's like, oh my God,
my phone's
we're
gone.
gonna die.
Yeah.
So and I know that makes me sound like the old guy, and I don't mean to be like well, back in my day, I read a book, but there's just something interesting of how much we're reliant on all these new things, and and it's, I love it. I love this world that we're in. I love it, and I use it to and some of our shared colleagues, they hear me come up with all kinds of funny things, and who knows, maybe some, but I love the idea right now that there's literally digital only private investigators. Love it. Right? There's footprints everywhere. You can always hide and see someone, and now with all the disinformation campaigns that are out there, it's like now there's a question of how ethical is that?
Right.
But at the same time, the fact it can be done, amazing. Disinformation, it's an interesting topic. I love it. I think it's incredible because it's one of those things where ethically you can question all of it. And I think the reason you see so many crazy political arguments right now is because it starts a slippery slope of being able to go, well, what the old way you were doing, why is that? Why is that okay and this isn't? Because you went right up to the line and then you ran away. And
I think one of the challenges with the political landscape now and technology is that technology has given everybody a voice. And not that that's a bad thing, because everyone deserves a voice, but it's very, very easy for the extremes of both sides of an argument to appeal to the masses, whereas there's no filter, on that will, there's got to be an unbiased filter on it, right? Or that's a problem. There's no way or it's very difficult to filter those messages, so you really get, the balanced truth of a reality of a situation.
Well, it goes to a more philosophical problem that we haven't solved through technology or anything like that, and that's that idea that you've got folks that that are going against grains and developing these categorical responses of I'm extreme right wing or I'm extreme left wing, and what do they do that none of the people in the middle do? They recruit. Right?
Because they have to.
And it's it follows in the footsteps of religion. Religion recruits.
Absolutely.
Right? And so the non-recruiters are the ones that, they sit around, they're the ones that are going, oh, well, I'm the normal one, right? And which, that's a philosophical argument into itself, but I'm the normal one, but they're not recruiting. So you're going to see, it's that whole idea that, the loudest voice gets, they get the attention.
Well, that's kind of how Trump won the presidency, right?
You've got these technologies now that it's not just that everybody has a voice, it's just everyone who, so if your whole mentality is recruit, you suddenly are using those tools in a completely different way than someone who's like, no, I'm going to remark. I'm not going to recruit, I'm going to remark. And it's a passive aggressive type of, it's interesting. It's interesting to see, because I think we've come up with solutions on how to recruit. But we've never solved like bigger conundrums like, okay, how do we make it so that center folk are not being just drowned out? Right?
That makes sense. Yeah, it's true.
Who knows? Maybe they don't need to be.
Yeah.
Who cares? But
maybe it's a problem you don't need. Yeah.
But it's those are the kind of things that I look at and go, technology's not going to get that.
Yeah. We'll have to save that for another episode, because that could be a whole episode in itself.
Yeah.
So thanks for coming on the show. It was
Yeah, thanks for having my rambles.
Great conversation. It's always interesting to explore different topics and get different people's opinions, and it's been a good one. Thank you very much.
Cool. No, thank you.
So thanks everybody for tuning in. It's been another good episode, and don't forget, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And see you next time. Take care.